Hello, and welcome to accesso's Learning Series program. Today's video will discuss our exciting new accesso Siriusware Access Control product, Quickscan. Your presenter is me, Louis Aquila, Director of Product Management for accesso Siriusware. accesso provides clients with excellence in ticketing and admission solutions that deliver all the essential features required for every point of sale throughout your venue, whether you manage an amusement park, ski resort, or a museum. From food and beverage to rentals to admissions and much more, accesso Siriusware software modules provide easy-to-use and feature-rich solutions to suit every venue type, all with the power to integrate into a seamless system to streamline your operations. With that said, let's talk a little about our mobile applications and how we are shaping the future of access control in our solution. Let's first talk a little bit about our current generation of Windows mobile applications. You may be familiar with these or you may not be, so let's kind of run through what we currently offer. First of all, we have ScanMan. This is our access control product that runs on this Windows mobile device, along with other Windows mobile devices from Zebra and Motorola. We also have Tallyman, and this application is used for retail inventory counts. So you could do real-time inventory counts as you progress through the store instead of having to do your counts using pen and paper. Lastly, we have TechStation PPC. This is typically used in rental shop environments, so that way the technicians have the ability to scan rental order forms and also enter in any information about that particular item that's being rented. Our new generation of scanning is about to take place. Now, why are we working on these? Well, there's a few different reasons. Firstly, Windows Mobile 6.5 is end of life by Microsoft. This is the operating system that most Windows mobile devices use from Motorola and Zebra. Microsoft has said that they have an extended support end date of January 1st, 2020. At accesso Siriusware, we keep our software solutions in line with Microsoft supported dates. So we want to make sure that we have applications that meet whatever deadlines it is that Microsoft has for all of the different operating systems. In addition, it's a great time to move over to Android OS. So let's quickly first talk about the Quick App family roadmap. Firstly, we have Quickscan. We launched this in October 2018 in version 4.7.03 of our solution, and this replaces ScanMan. We will then be launching Quick Count in the first quarter of 2019, and this replaces Tallyman. Finally, we have QuickTech, and that we plan to launch the second quarter of 2019, and this replaces TechStation. As you can see, we are rolling out a whole family of products that all run on Android OS. So you may be thinking, what happens to ScanMan? Well, we do have a very specific timeline set here for ScanMan. Firstly, any new enhancements to ScanMan have ended. We have a number of enhancements that we've done to Quickscan and that we will continue to do, but all of those going forward will be put into Quickscan specifically. New sales of ScanMan will end in June of 2019. This will give the ability, if you still have old legacy hardware from Motorola or Zebra, you could continue to use ScanMan and purchase licenses if you need them. But starting June 1st, we will end sales of ScanMan and only offer new sales of Quickscan. Bug support will end on January 14th, 2020. This keeps us in line with Microsoft's end-of-life schedule. Lastly, you could continue to use ScanMan even after 2020. We realize that it's going to take time to move off your current hardware and move to Quickscan, and that's okay. You could continue to use ScanMan indefinitely for as long as you like. We will not be supporting any bug fixes, as you can see here, past 2020, but the software will continue to work and you can continue to use it as long as you like. Now, a little introduction here to our first application, Quickscan. So what is Quickscan? Essentially, we took the business logic and the behind the scenes software of ScanMan. We then put a beautiful new Angular front end, and we made this work on Android operating system. So what is our first initiative when we started working on Quickscan and designing how this application will work is we wanted to tackle how can we make it easier to install the application. Historically, you had to plug the device into a computer, create folders, move the application, and run it manually. So this is now a downloaded app. It will not be available on the Android Google Play Store, but it will be available from our website. This is a simple 2-tap installation. You download, you hit install, and that's it. There is no computer needed. We also have improved configuration of the device. So how do we configure? So this is our second initiative. Now that we figured out how we're going to install it, we wanted to figure out how can we make this easier to configure. Again, historically with ScanMan, it was a matter of configuring INI settings while it's plugged into a computer. But this made it very difficult to quickly change settings on the fly while you were using ScanMan, perhaps at the ski lift or at the entrance of your attraction. So all settings are going to be available in a very easy to use panel. We're going to also have descriptions for each setting. This way, you don't have to dig into the documentation to understand what a setting does or how to use it. We will have a description for each setting available right there in our settings panel. Lastly, the settings are secured. These can be password protected if you like, and you can only get into the settings menu if you know the password. So how about some new features? Although all the features that we had in ScanMan move over into Quickscan, we also wanted to add some new features as well. So we have sounds. Now, this may not sound like a big deal, but having sounds pre-built into the application gives you much more flexibility into the types of sounds that you want to hear depending on different events. So when you install Quickscan, we have several sounds that are preloaded, and these could be used for good scans, for bad scans, for scans if you're online, and scans if you're offline. We're also introducing what we call intelligent bad. With ScanMan, if a ticket was scanned bad because of for whatever reason, ScanMan would simply tell you bad. But with Quickscan, it is much more intuitive, and it tells you precisely why the ticket was scanned bad. We have also added a visual counter that lets you know exactly how many tickets have been scanned, and you can easily reset it right on the screen. We also have custom DCI responses. So with this, you can set multiple response screens depending on the type of ticket scanned. Now, we had this available in ScanMan, but we made this much more intuitive and easy to use in Quickscan. Lastly, we can scan or read RFID media. So with Quickscan, it will actually process and read RFID media that is tapped on the device. So now that we've looked at some of the main features of Quickscan, let's look at the hardware that we're using. We are using the Cypher Lab RS51. This is hardware that we've worked closely on with this vendor to ensure that the hardware can meet the needs of our clients. Now, this hardware is IP6567 rated, but what exactly does that mean? Well, it runs on Android OS, and it also has the ability to have LTE cellular. So with that, you could have Quickscan running in an environment that is not connected to your Wi-Fi. And as long as you have your firewall provisioned correctly, you could have Quickscan running anywhere you'd like as long as there's an LTE cellular connection. This also has a 2D imager, so you could read off of phones, off of paper, or off of anything that a customer can give you. The RFID reader is built into it. And the IP6567 rating means that it is dust tight, meaning that sand and other smaller dust particles cannot get inside of the device. And also it's watertight. You could do a direct water blast on the device, or it could fall into a puddle of water up to 3 feet and the device will be fine. And lastly, it could withstand drops of up to 4.5 feet. Now, this is a typical height that you would be using this device in. So it could fall on concrete or it could fall on any other surface, and the device is designed to withstand that drop. If you currently have ScanMan, you may be wondering, this sounds great, how do I move to Quickscan? Well, we've made this process as easy as possible, what we're calling a one-for-one license swap. So the way this works is you would open up a case firstly to update to 4703. Quickscan works on any version starting with 4703. So once you open up a case to update to 4703, you'll be placed into the update queue, and our client services team will then help you update to 4703. Next, you would email sales to purchase the hardware. We resell this hardware, and we have worked with the vendor to obtain very special pricing. This price of this hardware is much more affordable than we have ever received from Motorola and Zebra. In addition, the warranty options that Cipher Labs offers means that you can have peace of mind when using this device. Next, you would open up a case to obtain your Quickscan license. So for example, let's just say you have 10 ScanMan licenses and you purchase 3 scanners. So the way this would work is that you would receive a new license file, which would contain 7 ScanMan licenses and 3 Quickscan licenses. This way, if any ScanMan license that you have, you can swap it out for a Quickscan license at any point. You could, of course, purchase additional Quickscan licenses whenever you please. Then you would install your new license, as you would install any new license when you receive one from us. And lastly, you would install Quickscan on your device. We have thorough documentation on how to install and how to configure Quickscan available for you. Now let's get to the fun part, the live demo. As you can see here, this is the actual device that I have running on a Cipher Lab hardware that is connected to my computer. So I have several different barcodes printed out that demonstrate the different capabilities that we have within Quickscan. So just a quick walkthrough of what we have here on our device. So at the top, we have a little hamburger menu. If we tap on that, then this shows me about, which would show me the version number, settings, a config QR code, and quit. We'll go into the settings and the config QR code here in just a second. I then have a scan button at the bottom, an inquiry button, and manual. Of course, if I hit manual, then this is where I can manually type in a ticket or a pass. Inquiry, that means that I could do an inquiry scan where it won't actually process the scan, but I could at least see what's going on with the ticket or the pass. And lastly, down here at the bottom, it's indicating that it is live and connected. And then I have a progress bar, which is my counter. Now that progress bar is optional. I could turn that off if you don't need a counter at all. But in my case, I have it turned on. And then all the way at the bottom, it's showing me that my location ID number is 1. The operator that's logged in is Louis. My local scans are 0, meaning these are scans that are on the device that have not been sent to the server because I was offline. In my case, I'm online, so I don't have any local scans. And finally, we have day, which indicates how many scans have been performed throughout the entire day. So let's go into the settings. This is our all new settings menu. In ScanMan, this was a large INI settings file. Now everything is contained inside of this settings menu. There is no longer any need to use an INI file. All settings that are available in Quickscan are all available in this menu. If I click on device settings, we have IP, port, and we also have the security passcode. If I click on that, then this is where I could type in a passcode. Once I set this, then the only way to get back into the settings menu is by typing in that passcode. I could then set my sales point, my operator, auto operator, and the rest of the settings here. These are all the settings that we had available in ScanMan. There's a couple of new ones, counter, active. As you can see, it's set to true. But if I set that to false, you'll see that the counter now has disappeared from the bottom. If I turn that back on, I can now see the counter reappears, and you'll see that counter bar is set to 80. What this means is how high do I want that counter to go? Perhaps I have a tram, or maybe I have a train, or I have some other area where it fits a predefined number of people. So what I could do is set this to whatever number I like, so that way this progress bar goes all the way up to that particular amount. I then have my timing settings. These are all the settings that we had in ScanMan for rollover and timeouts. If you click on any of these, we do indicate what the preferred and recommended setting is, but of course you could change that depending on your environment. We then have our scan settings. This is a setting that I am personally excited about because I can easily go in here and set what type of information I want to show when a ticket or a pass is scanned. So for example, perhaps I want to see an age, but I don't want to see birthday. That's okay. All I do is uncheck birthday, and now birthday will no longer show. If I'm not using second guess, I could turn that off. Or perhaps I'm not using points 1 and points 2. I could turn that off. So this way I could clean up my screen and only show the information that is relevant. I then have a variety of settings for inquiry mode on how I can use inquiry mode and if it's locked to an inquiry mode only. I can set my validation item, my site ID, and how things are scanned. A new setting is an RFID prefix, so then that way I could set a specific prefix if I know that all of my RFID or NFC serial numbers always begin with the same type of prefix. Then I have my sounds. So this is a menu here where I could configure what types of sounds I want to hear based on different actions. So as you can see here, we have 4 different sounds for if it's scanned good and it's live. We have offline sounds, and we have bad sounds and offline sounds as well. And finally, we have the custom DCI. I'll show you how this works in just a minute once I actually scan this barcode. So let's go ahead and scan. So if I scan a good ticket, you should be able to hear that sound, and I could adjust that sound volume right in here. And you'll see the information that's being shown to me. It's showing me what was scanned, what was that access or pass number, the start and end date, uses, and points. So real quick, let's just go ahead and say that I am not using points 1 and points 2. So what I could do here is unselect those, save that, and now you'll see points 1 and points 2 completely disappears. This reduces confusion, especially at the front line, because if it always says 0, then it might be confusing as to why those are always 0. If you're not using these particular features or guest information, then easy enough to remove it. If I do a pass or a membership, I have some additional information that's shown because there is a guest attached to this item. So you'll see here that Philip has a height and an age, and also there is a photo attached. So I'm able to see all of that. In addition, maybe I want to see this photo just a little bit bigger. I could just tap on the photo, I could see his picture, and then hit close, and his picture minimizes again. Going through, right now I just scanned a child ticket. As you could see, the background has changed to orange. The reason? I have a custom DCI set. So if I go here to custom DCI, you'll notice that my DCI is youth because my item nickname is youth. I have a sound and I have a background color. So the background color, in this menu, I could set anything that I like, and I could even change that background color to something completely different. So maybe I want more of a blue color to indicate that it's a child ticket. So once I do that, now it's showing as a blue color. This is particularly helpful, especially for things like child tickets, because you want to make sure that only children are coming in with those tickets and not adults posing as children. Going through here, I'm going to scan a family membership. This family membership was configured to allow a certain number of adult, children, and senior. With this new menu, I can easily say how many adults and how many seniors and how many children are in the party, hit add, and it'll count all of those in there. In this case, this membership was specifically for Rob Jackson, and it shows his information in here as well. Now, a used ticket. If you remember, we have the intelligent bads. So now, instead of just saying bad, it's specifically telling me that it's used. The reason? I already used all of my uses on this particular ticket, so I am not allowed entry any longer. As you can see here, it's giving me just a little snippet of information, not enough uses available. If I want to see some more information on why, then I could hit more, and it gives me some additional information. But as you could see, right here, the default, it gives me just the right amount of information so I could look and see what's going on. I can also hit the past ticket info button. That gives me lots of detail into this particular ticket. Also, I could hit scan info. When was this ticket scanned and where was it scanned? From here, I can see that it was scanned a certain number of times and where and what time and what day this ticket was scanned. Going through another bad scan, I have voided. So as you can see, we have a very distinctive lock icon because this ticket or pass was voided. And it was voided by Louis, and the reason was because this was stolen. Next, if I scan a location, this particular ticket is a Dead Sea Scrolls ticket, meaning that this is for a movie. But maybe they are scanning this at the entrance of a completely different attraction. This ticket was configured to be scanned at certain locations, and in this case, it's showing me that it's invalid. And it's also telling me that it's not valid at this physical location. Lastly, we have an expired scan. In this case, this ticket is expired, and it clearly tells me that it was sold on the 30th, and it expired also on the 30th. Even though they still have one use left, this ticket is expired, so it cannot be used. So those are the different scans and the different bad scans that we have. The last thing I wanted to show you is, let's just say that you have 10 scanners. You now want to install those 10 scanners with Quickscan. And let's say that you went through all of these settings. You configured everything absolutely perfect. This scanner now is performing exactly as you'd like. So how do you move these settings from this scanner to the rest of your scanners? So what we've introduced is this config QR code. All you do is you tap on this QR code, and you now have this code pop up. Now grab your other Quickscan device, scan this barcode into that device, and all of the settings will move and copy over from this device to your other device that you just scanned. This way, it'll make it much faster and easier to set up and configure the rest of your devices. The only thing you need to change on your other devices would be the sales point, and that is all. Everything else then would work exactly as your first scanner would work. Now, of course, on your other scanners, you may want to fine tune something, and that's okay. You could fine tune anything in there, but this should dramatically speed up the effort of rolling out Quickscan to multiple devices. And that is all for our live demo. Thank you so much for watching and for learning about Quickscan and where we are going with our mobile solutions. If you need any more information, please email sales@accesso.com. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a great day.